Hi there, welcome to PEAQ Wyckoff Technical Analysis session. I've totally forgotten I still have one more session when I did Dogecoin just now. So PEAQ has shown very encouraging volume, let's put it this way, while it's maintaining a horizontal trading movement that you can consider it a consolidation period. So let's quickly dive into the charts both weekly and daily and see what the price actions are telling us. So in the weekly, we have seen this horizontal movement for quite a while, and the Bollinger Band corner squeeze, even though technically speaking, according to the indicator, there's no shades, the vertical bars doesn't show up, but then for me, I would consider a squeeze has started sometime back in late June, and it's just a matter of time. When the price continued to trade sideways next week, we'll technically see the purple touching the orange, and that is officially becomes a squeeze. So when a squeeze happens, you know the price will swing pretty crazy. The good sign I mentioned about were these volume bars over here. So the volume has pumped up by a lot. Basically 5 to 6 times or even higher than what we had for the first 3 quarters of the year. This we're getting into more fluctuations, but as long as these white volumes combined with a candlestick that doesn't show a long wick at the top, meaning a lot of selling from the top, like what we had back in mid-May over here, that's a positive sign for the bulls, or like if you want to see the price to go up. So that's why I'm keeping the percentages, the possibility of heading towards a sign of strength at least, and maybe eventually entering the distribution cycle at a higher percentage compared to coming back down to a test. Because for the past 3 weeks, we see these wicks at the bottom, right? So that's a sign where there are people buying as soon as the price hits the key level of around 10 cents, pushing the price, the candles closes or opening at those areas. So this level at around 1 cent is the key for short term. And then if we look at the Wyckoff stages, we have entered the selling climax or the accumulation cycle for almost 8 months now, and it's a stage where some other older altcoins has already caught the attention of people and they pumped up already, but PEAQ seems like it's getting its momentum now. It's just started to fueling up, and then the rocket may climb anytime from now. So that's the big picture. We're still hoping to see this distribution cycle to happen before the year end. Of course, it can take longer if there are some negative news that suppresses or brings uncertainty to the crypto market or the entire investment market, to be exact, because like the US government is shutting down, and people are expecting money printing that may or may not happen at the timeline that people are expecting. And then if the corporates are showing positive earnings, people would allocate their money towards those safer locations that give them like sufficient profit rather than putting into riskier assets like crypto. So there are a lot of thinking and forces at play. So let's get to the daily chart. Here, I know this peak was a bit crazy compared to what we have now, so the chart looks like it's flat, but if we get back to the right scale, it isn't flat at all. So what happened over the past week was basically last Thursday, it dropped outside of the upward trend and then also fallen below this intermediate support level. So we covered peak, I think 2 weeks ago. Let's quickly check. Yeah, it was on September 21st, and then we haven't touched peak afterwards. So September 21st, it was a big climb. When we conduct the session, I believe there were still like 7 or 8 hours left for the candle, much like what we are having now. So when that happens, it touches the yellow key level of 14 cents and then got rejected back to this intermediate support or resistance level. That was where the near where the selling climax back in beginning of this year, around February. That's where the level was, and eventually the subsequent day of a bit of selling, but you can see the volume wasn't really that high. That pushes the price back to another intermediate support level, and subsequently it rebounded but then fallen outside of this upward trend. So that was what happened in the few days immediately after the session we talked about peak. The good thing, however, if I turn this to a line chart, is that it doesn't really exhibit like a head and shoulder scenario. It avoided that from happening. So kudos to the bulls that successfully survived the uptrend of peak. So it's time to adjust this, given this uptrend is over. It may be, while it looks horizontal, right? Starting from this point all the way to here, it can still be an uptrend, just having bigger price moves. So let's extend this box so its width is able to cover these wicks. Yeah, so that's about right. And when we edge closer to the 0.14 yellow key level, you see this box is creating a time point near the end of this month. So the exact cross is about Thursday, October 30th. I mentioned many times, for these time points, a breakout would happen before those dates. So for peak here, when we go back to the weekly chart, we don't see that so clearly because it looks like it's just horizontal. But if we go to the daily, it's telling us maybe that's not really horizontal. It's showing us higher lows at these spots. So one spot over here, one spot over here, one spot over here. So higher and higher lows happening actually, and higher peaks as well. So if this time the price continues to challenge this yellow key level of 0.14 and eventually breaks above and touches the ceiling of this uptrend, that's a good sign, another confirmation that we have higher high. And then also here, this time point near the end of this month, even if the price doesn't break above this key level, when it gets to the near the tip of this triangle, eventually the big guys have to make a move. So either it completely breaks this bigger uptrend, meaning further accumulation would happen, or it's going to break this yellow and then continue up to challenge the green, because that's a confirmation of this uptrend that's happening. So if I extend this further, you'll be able to see this channel box and the cross of this green key level. That's another time point here, somewhere near mid-November. So I believe I'll run another session before that happens, so we don't have to talk about this here, just so you know there's another time point. So near the end of this month is the first one. 2 weeks immediately after that is the second one, where breakout would happen, and it's either breaking the upward trend or it's going to break above these key levels, entering a late stage of accumulation, potentially heading towards the new distribution cycle. I haven't added any text right here as of this moment for the distribution, but what that essentially means is after the sign of strength and potentially back up our last point of support period that maybe we're going through already. So we may not have another sign of strength, but this is the backup and last point of support before the actual pump to a preliminary supply. That's the early stage of a distribution cycle. And eventually a buying climax, hopefully, is going to once again hit the purple key level of 65 cents. That's where the peak was about back in December last year, and the second test was also at that level. So we hope to see that happen, because that means the long-term speculative or investment value of PEAQ remains more or less the same as last year. Best if it goes higher, right? But let's take one step at a time. At least it doesn't show a declining trend. So if a PEAQ ends up at around the blue key level of 45 cents, that's a bit more worrying, because it may mean there are more competition in the crypto space, because it's got broader support and more new projects are coming out, and it basically those projects took the attention from the other cryptos, including PEAQ. We'd hope that's not the case. So ideally, the buying climax should be, or should hit, the 65 cents level, the purple key level, not the blue. So you see what we had back here, right? So that's what we want to see. And that's all for PEAQ now, really, this time. See you tomorrow. All 4 sessions are conducted today, and thanks for joining me. Ciao.